On today's Minute of the Apes, we just got a little bit of Star Wars talk in before the show began.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
Divine bomb.
Whether I was a human or a dead human! Where there is fire, there is smoke.
The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd. That was Sean. Richard, I know we have you with us because I see you there.
I'm here.
I've discovered something very
Finish eating.
I've discovered something very dangerous with starting off this podcast and me with all the buttons and controls, because my music brain eventually will go into music, and I'm sitting there marveling that song is recorded on Apple's GarageBand, and that drummer is a fake drummer that they have, and it is so damn realistic that when you write it, you can tell it. I played the guitar part, and then you tell it to follow it, and it follows it, and you can even build it to where it does the kicks. And I'm sitting there, I'm just listening, I'm like, holy shit.
What do we need Todd for anymore?
Yeah, I may sing and play guitar now, but I was like, started as a drummer. I'm like, Jesus, that thing's solid. And then I started at the end, I was like, oh shit. So I'm going to tell myself from this point forward, I can't think musically when I'm doing this show from this point forward. No more. All right, here we are, minute 34. We did get a bit of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes talking at first, so we aren't going to bore everyone with that. Why don't we instead talk about this minute? Sean, tell us what's going on.
All right, we're going to start minute 34 with Caesar saying, thirsted for my blood and wanted my birth aborted, and ends with McDonald reacting to a sound.
All right, here it comes, minute 34, Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Thirsted for my blood and wanted my birth aborted. In the year 3950, apes will destroy the earth.
Not apes, gorillas. Besides, that's only one future.
How can there be more than one?
You remember the old motorways? I believe that time is like an endless motorway, with an infinite number of lanes all running from the past into the future. It follows that a driver would try to change his lanes and change his future. If you left this room right now, you might wind up shot, dead. If you left a minute later, you might survive. It's a blind choice, but you can't change lanes.
I know what it is I want to change.
As of minute 34, we have a village's worth of apes and humans, plus a ghost city's worth of radioactive people, and a recording of Dear Sweet Zero and Cornelius.
Okay, so we get Caesar a bit perturbed in this moment as he hears this story. Can I ask why? Okay.
I don't know. Can you ask?
Virgil asking or saying that it's the gorillas that destroy everything. Is there that information's there? Should it not?
I think they're trying to set that up to maybe later in the movie have Aldo be really aggressive, and maybe chimpanzees and orangutans are trying to calm him down, but he's too wild, and this is how it's going to be. The gorillas are going to be so aggressive, it is eventually going to lead to the destruction of the earth.
But my thought to that too is, and I agree with you, that's why they're putting it there. I almost feel like even though Caesar is worked up about this, he should be seeing it as, we can't just assume it's only one group of people that will do this. We all have to, we have to fix all. He needs to now have that maniacal mission that we talked about, where he sees his destiny. He's got to be this person. We've got to be above and beyond that. They just take this again as flat. It is, yes, Roddy chews the scenery a bit with it, and Paul Williams, being a young actor at this point, I think actually does pretty good in this entire scene with what he's given. His readings are interesting. He understands his character. I don't get what they're trying to set up beyond what you said, Sean, and why it's gonna work for the story.
Well, as we were watching the minute, Richard and I were both making the same face at the same time when Caesar goes, I know what I want to change. Well, would that be his parents being alive, or what does he want to change?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's like what? Telling me, because it's not explicitly mentioned anywhere in here of what needs to be changed. There's nothing that's been set up. There's nothing that, I mean, is he referencing the gorillas? Is he referencing
the future being destroyed? I mean, because if not, maybe his parents would still be living in the future and he'd be born there and wouldn't be, running from humans or whatever.
No wonder mankind thirsted for my blood and wanted my birth aborted. In the year apes will destroy the earth. I know what it is I want to change. Well, I don't.
Well, and okay, I just thought
we know from movie 2 that there was a conflict between mutants and
the apes,
society,
and gorillas.
They're making gorillas the villain in this particular thing. They completely cut out the part where Zero even mentions anything related to anybody else. They should be setting up that conflict. They should be setting up opposing forces as opposed to gorillas who just destroyed the earth. I mean, are they trying to make some comment about the aggressive nature of society and how a certain sect of it can kind of push it to the brink of war and bombs? And that's what happened to mankind, and now it's going to repeat itself with apes. Is that what Caesar wants to prevent? It's not explicit at all.
I also just thought of this. Why at the end of this film do we not have some kind of news footage of them being killed? You want to affect Caesar, let him see their dead bodies or something. I mean, those kind of things. I know it's a kid's movie, but we killed him in a kid's movie before.
They did it at the beginning. Remember, this movie had
we should see that footage.
5 minutes of clips.
We should see that. Okay, and if they have that at the first, then now I am thoroughly convinced that this still image is bullshit.
I forgot about that. Yeah, because if they had all those clips at the beginning, then they did have the rights to use it. So I don't know why they did.
And this is where you'd use the clips. This is where you'd use it. This is where you would reference back to Escape by watching this footage. Maybe Caesar saw this at the beginning and it starts the quest. I don't know, but
I can understand why they didn't use the footage, the clips from the beginning here, because there was no motivation. There was no camera at those times to record that stuff. So this is the only thing that was actually recorded that they could use that has their image. This and the actual, when they testified, would be the times that they were recorded. They could have shown the TV stuff if they wanted to, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this, I'm assuming, is to say, hey, gorillas are going to blow up the earth eventually. Have fun.
Well, and we've got Virgil, making the call back to Hassline's multiple lane theory.
Well, so what's he saying? You can or cannot change lanes?
Before we get there, I want to take one last thing and challenge the fact that I don't necessarily agree that you can't fake that footage of their death being news coverage. You're bound to find something where you could show that image, and that would affect Caesar very heavily. And also, why is none of this the footage from the actual commission when they're in that chamber with the group?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That actually belongs here. And I wouldn't mind if the audio was, opposed to it. You aren't necessarily seeing them talk, but we're seeing clips of it, and the stuff is over the top of it. Somebody's assimilated this. There are just so many misses here on so many levels that when you're left with that thing of, I know what I want to change, we don't get any clue because you've not told us any more than that somebody said no, and that Virgil now assumes it's the gorillas that do everything. So,
yeah, well, and then he mentions not apes, gorillas, and he goes, but that's one future, and then so his thing about changing lanes, I guess, is supposed to be motivation for Caesar to change the direction of the apes in the future. Is that what he's saying?
Is he saying you can or cannot change lanes? Because it should be can, because if time is a bunch of lanes and you're driving down them, I can change lanes. I can change lanes and get off the road if I want to.
Right.
Well, no, the weird pixelization you heard, or the audio quality there, he does say can, not can't.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he does say, but you can change lanes. I mean, maybe we might need it. Maybe they did change that last minute, but the script says can.
Okay. So he's saying
so-
you can change your future, but you can only change your future if you know that there's a future to be changed. His whole, walk out early and you get shot, stay a little bit later and you live. That only works if you know that if you leave early, you'll get shot, and you can change your future by not doing that. Otherwise, it's just random chance if you get shot or not.
Well, we have not at this point. Sorry, it has been 20 plus minutes since we've had gorillas and Aldo and anything related to what was happening back in the village. So I have no sense of why gorillas are suddenly being demonized here. I have no sense of why Virgil's saying we can change lanes as it relates to gorillas. There was not enough setup at the beginning of the movie to make me think that there's a problem happening at the Ape Village, other than Aldo's just a hothead. The other thing that drives me crazy about this is that they don't even know that there's people still in this city at this particular point. The three of them are just walking around like nothing's going on, not knowing the conflict that's about to happen. Or sorry, not about to happen. They don't know that they're being pursued at this point.
Well, in some ways,
it's
good.
weird to me.
In some ways, it's good. That's what Alfred Hitchcock likes to do. You want the characters to not know that there's a danger, but the audience needs to know that there's a danger. You want a ticking bomb under a table while people are eating and they don't know that it's happening.
So Caesar is not referencing anything related to the dead city or the mutants, because at this point they are completely oblivious to the fact that it's there. Maybe they manipulated that somehow just so that the editing, so that there's no sense that something's going on outside of the room that they're in.
Well, and then so in roughly at about, let me find the exact time. So at about 49 seconds in, we cut to a shot of a mutant going through a filing area. And he has no sense of urgency to what he's doing. He has no fear of being seen. He's just sort of walking very meh through it.
And I don't want to body shame, but they've been in a radioactive city for 12 years underground. He's kind of plump, isn't he?
Yeah. So he steps into a nice little up angle pool of light, so he looks very scary. But okay, I think what they're trying to do, so at the 54-second mark, we get him and Caesar notices there's a little sound. That should, if you're going to build that sequence, he should bump into a cabinet. Boom. Caesar looks. When Caesar looks, it cuts to that same room. But more people are there, yeah. Two people are walking through. No one's being cautious. You have to take these moments. And after we get the people walking, and I love that shot, I'll talk about it in a minute, we cut to a shot of McDonald for the very end of it. The way that sequence,
looks the opposite direction.
Yes, and the way that sequence should go,
you
should have that man bump into something. Boom. Caesar looks. Cut to McDonald looking too. Caesar looks to McDonald and goes, shh. Now you've built a thing where we have to be quiet. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, but McDonald looks the opposite direction of where they've established the camera is, or where the characters are camera-wise. He looks away from where the sound should be.
I mean, it again to me is that thing of we're cranking, we're getting out of here. And I think that shot of McDonald, if I'm guessing, is not really even a reaction to the sounds. It's just something that they found, oh, he looks a little concerned, let's put it in here. But it should be the three of them. It should may even be Virgil's the one that notices it first, and Caesar, being the leader, goes, gotta go, something. But there's nothing that tells us this is outside of that. We know that they can shoot to maim. There's nothing that tells us this is urgent. Our characters don't know the impending doom. They aren't concerned and that no one's checked the Geiger counter in forever either. It's like we're all cool with the Geiger counter now that we're in this room.
The rads are safe.
Ugh. Is this movie going to make me make that noise all the way through it? Ugh.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling the next couple of minutes are probably going to be like that.
I'm curious when our listeners get to hear this, if there's anyone that this is their favorite of the original Apes films. I get it that we even when we went through Beneath, there were people that chimed in and said that's my favorite. Okay, I totally get it. I don't agree with you, but we all have those things. This one, is just so slapped together that I wonder if anyone just